Imagine a food so utterly vital, so profoundly essential, that its presence or absence often spelled the difference between life and a slow, agonizing death during the relentless grip of winter. This wasn't some exotic delicacy reserved for royalty, nor a fleeting, seasonal treat. This was a fundamental pillar of survival, a caloric lifeline that sustained entire communities through months of scarcity. Yet today, if I were to name it, chances are you wouldn't recognize it. It has been almost entirely scrubbed from our collective memory, a ghost in the annals of human sustenance. What was this mysterious, life-saving staple, and how could humanity, ever so keen on preserving knowledge, simply abandon something so crucial? Why would we willingly erase such a powerful tool from our past, especially one that offered such a stark contrast to the privations of pre-modern existence? The answer, as it often is with humanity's complex history, is not a simple one. It's a tapestry woven with threads of innovation, cultural shifts, and perhaps a touch of collective amnesia born from convenience. The first clues to its nature are intriguing, hinting at something both unusual and surprisingly ubiquitous. Across continents, from the frigid plains of northern Europe to the ancient settlements dotting the Americas, whispers of this food appear in archaeological records and ethnographic accounts. It wasn't a grain, not a fruit, and certainly not a readily available animal protein. Its very existence often depended on specific environmental conditions and a deep, almost instinctual understanding of the natural world. It was a food that demanded patience, foresight, and often significant labor to secure. Yet its reward was unparalleled: reliable calories and nutrients when all other sources had vanished beneath snow or withered with the frost. To truly grasp its significance, we must transport ourselves back to a time when winter was not merely an inconvenience, but a genuine threat. Picture a world without supermarkets, without global supply chains, without central heating, or even reliable means of preservation beyond salting or rudimentary drying. For our ancestors, winter meant starvation was a constant, looming shadow. The land lay barren, game was scarce, and the stores from the autumn harvest dwindled with each passing week. Disease, often exacerbated by malnutrition, swept through villages. In this brutal equation, any reliable source of food, particularly one that provided sustained energy and could be stored for extended periods, was nothing short of miraculous. It wasn't just sustenance. It was a shield against the inevitable, a buffer between life and the abyss. This forgotten food, then, represents a profound chapter in our human story, a testament to our ingenuity, our resilience, and our deep, often symbiotic, relationship with the environment. It speaks volumes about the desperate measures our ancestors took to survive and the profound wisdom embedded in their practices. As we journey through the forgotten culinary history of humanity, we'll uncover the surprising reasons behind its disappearance, peel back the layers of time, and perhaps even reflect on what we might have lost in our relentless march towards modernity. Prepare to delve into a world where survival hinged on an almost forgotten resource, a world that shaped us in ways we are only just beginning to understand. The story of this erased food is not just about what we ate, but about who we were, and perhaps who we are becoming. Across the vast tapestry of human history, this remarkable food, often overlooked today, played an astonishingly widespread role. From the indigenous communities thriving in the harsh North American plains to the ancient inhabitants of the Andean highlands, and even extending to parts of Asia and Europe, evidence suggests its consumption was not an isolated phenomenon, but a global strategy for survival. Its ubiquity speaks volumes about its effectiveness and adaptability. In North America, certain tribal groups cultivated and relied heavily on specific tuberous plants, meticulously managing their growth cycles. In Europe, historical records hint at the use of wild roots and fungi, carefully harvested and preserved. The common thread was a deep, intimate knowledge of local ecosystems and the subtle indicators of nature's bounty. The methods of preparation were as diverse as the cultures themselves, yet all shared a common goal: to render this often tough, fibrous, or even mildly toxic raw material into a digestible, nutritious, and storable form. For many root vegetables, this involved extensive processing. Imagine days spent digging, cleaning, peeling, and then, crucially, drying. Sun-drying, smoke-drying, or even freezing in some colder climates were common techniques. Some required fermentation, a process that not only improved digestibility but also enhanced flavor and preservation. For instance, certain starchy tubers, when pounded into flour and then fermented, could be stored for months, even years, providing a vital caloric backbone during the leanest periods. This was not a quick meal. It was a testament to resilience, foresight, and collective effort. Families and communities often worked together, transforming a seasonal harvest into a long-term insurance policy against hunger. Nutritionally, this forgotten food was a powerhouse. While specific compositions varied, they generally offered a dense source of carbohydrates, essential for energy during physically demanding winters. Many also provided crucial vitamins and minerals that would otherwise be scarce, preventing scurvy and other deficiency diseases. More than just calories, they supplied the sustained energy needed to chop wood, repair shelters, and hunt. Tasks that were critical for winter survival. It was the ultimate slow-release fuel, a stark contrast to the fleeting energy provided by scarce fresh berries or small game. Its life-saving qualities are hard to overstate. Without it, countless communities would simply not have endured the frigid grip of winter. Beyond mere sustenance, this food often held significant cultural weight. In some societies, its harvest was accompanied by elaborate rituals and ceremonies, thanking the earth for its bounty. It might have been central to winter feasts, symbolizing hope and continuity, a tangible link to the promise of spring. Stories and legends often revolved around its discovery or cultivation, embedding its importance deep within the collective psyche. It was more than food, it was a symbol of survival, a gift from the land, and a testament to ancestral wisdom. The turning point, however, began subtly, almost imperceptibly. As human societies advanced, so too did our agricultural practices. The domestication of grain crops like wheat, rice, and corn, coupled with improved farming techniques, gradually started to offer more predictable and less labor-intensive alternatives. These grains were easier to cultivate on a large scale, store more efficiently in centralized granaries, and could be traded over longer distances. The burgeoning of trade routes meant that food resources were no longer solely dependent on immediate local environments. A bad harvest in one region could be offset by imports from another. Early signs of decline were evident as early as the Roman Empire, which, with its sophisticated infrastructure, could transport vast quantities of grain across its territories, lessening the reliance on wild or less conventional food sources. In other parts of the world, similar shifts occurred. The introduction of new, high-yield crops through global exploration also played a role. While our forgotten food remained a crucial fallback in times of scarcity or famine, its everyday prominence began to wane. It was slowly, but steadily, being relegated from a primary staple to a secondary or even tertiary food source. A relic of a harder past being nudged aside by the promise of easier, more abundant fare. The stage was set for its eventual, almost complete, disappearance from our collective memory. The final blow to our forgotten winter staple arrived with the relentless march of industrialization and the agricultural revolutions of the 18th and 19th centuries. Scientific farming techniques, mechanized agriculture, and the development of synthetic fertilizers dramatically increased the yields of conventional grain crops. Suddenly, wheat, corn, and rice could be produced in quantities unimaginable just centuries prior, making them incredibly cheap and readily available year-round. This abundance, coupled with improved transportation networks like railroads and steamships, meant that even the most remote communities could access a steady supply of processed grains, flour, and other manufactured foodstuffs. The labor-intensive, often wild-harvested or minimally cultivated food we've been discussing simply couldn't compete with the efficiency and scale of industrial food production. It became economically unviable, a quaint anachronism in a world obsessed with progress and convenience. But why did humanity forget something so vital, so thoroughly, that it scarcely registers in our collective consciousness today? It wasn't merely economic displacement. There was a deeper, more psychological erasure at play. Perhaps it was a form of collective amnesia, a desire to distance ourselves from a past marked by hardship and scarcity. As societies grew wealthier and more civilized, the consumption of such a primitive, often unpalatable food might have become associated with poverty or backwardness. To embrace modern, refined foods was to embrace progress, leaving behind the stark realities of ancestral survival. There might have been an element of shame, a quiet agreement to bury the memory of desperate times and the desperate measures they required. This forgetting wasn't malicious. It was a byproduct of a society eager to look forward, to celebrate its advancements, and to relegate the uncomfortable truths of its past to dusty historical footnotes. Today, remnants of this practice are exceedingly rare, almost exclusively found in the most isolated communities or as obscure academic curiosities. Occasionally, an ethnobotanist might unearth an ancient recipe, or an indigenous group might still preserve a traditional method, but these are exceptions that prove the rule of its widespread disappearance. You might find a passing mention in an anthropological text or a specialized culinary history, but it certainly won't be on your supermarket shelves. Its cultural impact, once profound, has largely dissipated, absorbed into the broader tapestry of human ingenuity and adaptation. Yet, its story subtly echoes in our modern world, in the persistent human drive to innovate, to secure sustenance, and to overcome environmental challenges. This forgotten food, and its dramatic rise and fall, offers profound lessons. It reminds us of the incredible ingenuity and resilience of our ancestors, who faced existential threats with remarkable resourcefulness. It underscores the dynamic relationship between humanity and nature, a dance of adaptation, exploitation, and ultimately, transformation. It teaches us about the fragility of knowledge and the ease with which even the most crucial practices can vanish when societal priorities shift. In an era of increasing concerns about food security, sustainability, and biodiversity, the story of this forgotten staple serves as a powerful, cautionary tale. It prompts us to question what other valuable knowledge, what other sustainable practices, might have been lost in our rush towards progress. What other forgotten foods, forgotten technologies, or forgotten ways of living might hold keys to unlocking solutions for our present-day challenges? This journey into the past isn't just about curiosity. It's an intellectual call to action. It invites us to look beyond the obvious, to delve into the obscure, and to challenge our assumptions about what constitutes progress. For within the forgotten histories of humanity, there often lie not just tales of hardship, but also blueprints for resilience, wisdom that transcends time, and perhaps even lessons that could help us navigate the winters yet to come. The past, it seems, still has much to teach us,